Picture this. It's 7:15 a.m. and you're already late for work. Your phone is buzzing with notifications, your coffee just spilled on your favorite shirt, and your inbox is a war zone of unanswered emails. You feel that familiar knot in your stomach, part frustration, part anxiety, part pure, unfiltered chaos. Sound familiar? That's life throwing a curveball, and it feels like you're stuck in a batting cage with no bat. Most of us have been there, reacting to the moment, putting out fires and hoping tomorrow will be kinder. But here's the kicker. What if you could stop reacting to life's chaos and start designing a life where you're in control, no matter how wild the storm gets? Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't about pretending you're some Zen master who never feels anger, stress, or fear. Emotions are real, and they hit hard. But what if I told you there's a way to harness those emotions, to turn that storm into fuel for growth? That's where strategic thinking comes in. Not the kind of thinking that solves today's problems, but the kind that builds a life where those problems don't even get a chance to knock you down. I'm not here to sell you some fluffy motivational speech or a quick fix. This is about a mindset shift, a complete rewiring of how you approach your emotions, your decisions, and your life. It's about becoming the architect of your own story, not just a character reacting to the plot twists. By the end of this, you'll have a full-blown strategic framework to master your emotions, build resilience, and create a life that doesn't just survive the chaos, but thrives in it. Ready to rewrite the script? Let's dive in.
Let's start with a story. Imagine you're sitting across from a chess grandmaster. The board is set, the clock is ticking, and your opponent is calm, calculating, and 3 steps ahead. You're sweating, moving pieces impulsively, hoping something sticks. That's how most of us handle our emotions, reacting to every jab, every slight, every wave of anxiety like it's a checkmate moment. But here's the truth. Life isn't a single chess move. It's a game of strategy, and your emotions are the pieces on the board. The ancient philosopher Seneca once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Seneca wasn't just tossing out fortune cookie wisdom. He was pointing to a universal truth. The world will always throw chaos at you. Traffic jams, difficult bosses, family drama, but you get to decide how those moments shape you. Strategic thinking is about stepping back from the emotional chessboard, seeing the patterns, and making moves that set you up for the long game. So, what's tactical thinking, and why does it keep us stuck? Tactical thinking is when you're so caught up in the moment that you're just reacting. Your coworker snaps at you, and you snap back. Your to-do list feels like a hydra with 10 new heads every day, so you just grind harder. It's like trying to bail water out of a sinking boat without fixing the hole. Strategic thinking, on the other hand, is about asking deeper questions. Why am I feeling this way? What's the pattern behind this stress? How can I set myself up so this doesn't keep happening? Think of it like this. A tactical thinker sees a flat tire and panics about being late. A strategic thinker sees the flat tire and realizes it's time to invest in a better car maintenance routine. One's stuck in the moment, the other's designing the future. The good news? Strategic thinking isn't some mystical gift reserved for CEOs or chess grandmasters. It's a skill, and like any skill, you can build it. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you look for the root cause instead of the surface symptom, you're flexing that strategic muscle. And the stronger it gets, the more you'll see your life transform from a series of crises to a masterpiece of resilience.
Let's get personal for a second. You're not just a player in this game of life, you're the CEO of You Inc. And every great CEO needs to know their company inside and out. That's where emotional self-audit comes in. This isn't some touchy-feely journaling exercise. It's a high-resolution scan of your emotional operating system, your triggers, your strengths, your blind spots, and the opportunities you've been missing. Let's break it down with a story.
Meet Sarah, a marketing manager who's always on edge. Every deadline feels like a personal attack. Every critique from her boss feels like a dagger. She's good at her job, but she's burning out because she's reacting to every emotional spark like it's a 5-alarm fire. Sound familiar? Most of us are Sarah at some point. But here's what Sarah did to turn things around. She conducted an emotional self-audit. Step 1. Identify your emotional patterns. Sarah started noticing when her stress spiked. It wasn't random, it happened when she felt micromanaged or when projects piled up without clear priorities. She didn't just say, "I'm stressed," she dug deeper. "I'm stressed because I feel like I'm not in control." That's the difference between tactical and strategic. Tactical thinkers feel the stress and push through. Strategic thinkers see the stress as data. Step 2. Look at your emotional victories. Sarah remembered times when she stayed calm under pressure, like when she nailed a client presentation despite a tight deadline. What was different? She'd prepared thoroughly, trusted her instincts, and leaned on her team. Those weren't just wins, they were clues to her strengths. Maybe you're great at staying cool during family arguments or laser-focused when you're passionate about a project. Those moments aren't accidents, they're patterns you can build on. Step 3. Map your emotional threats. Sarah realized her biggest threat wasn't her workload, it was her habit of saying yes to everything. Every time she overcommitted, she set herself up for a stress spiral. What's your threat? Maybe it's scrolling social media when you're anxious, which only makes you feel worse. Maybe it's avoiding tough conversations, which lets problems fester. These aren't failures, they're opportunities to rewrite the script. Here's where it gets powerful. Once Sarah understood her emotional operating system, she could make strategic moves. She started setting boundaries, delegating tasks, and carving out time to recharge. Her stress didn't disappear, but it stopped owning her. That's what an emotional self-audit does. It gives you clarity so you can play to your strengths, shore up your weaknesses, and spot opportunities to grow stronger. Now that you've got a map of your emotional landscape, it's time to decide where you're headed. This is about creating your emotional North Star, a vision of the person you want to be when life throws its inevitable curveballs. Most people stumble through life without a clear destination, reacting to every emotional hit like it's a surprise attack. But strategic thinkers, they design their emotional future. Let's go back to our friend Sarah. After her self-audit, she didn't just want to feel less stressed. She envisioned a version of herself who woke up energized, handled challenges with calm confidence, and didn't let setbacks derail her. That's her North Star, not a specific job title or bank balance, but a way of being. What's yours? Picture yourself 5 years from now. How do you feel when you wake up? How do you handle conflict? What kind of energy do you bring to your relationships, your work, your life? Here's a story to bring it home. My friend Mike used to be a hothead. Every traffic jam, every rude comment, every missed deadline sent him into a tailspin. But one day, he decided he was done being a slave to his temper. He imagined a future Mike who stayed cool under pressure, who turned frustration into focus, who was the calm in everyone else's storm. That vision became his North Star. He worked backwards. To be that person in 5 years, what needed to be true in 1 year? He needed better stress management habits. In 6 months, he needed to practice mindfulness daily. Next month, he needed to start meditating for 5 minutes a day. Each step was a milestone on his strategic roadmap. Here's the beauty of this approach. Your North Star doesn't have to be perfect. It's not about predicting every twist and turn. It's about direction. As the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Your emotional North Star gives every decision a purpose. Should you take that high-stress job? Argue with that toxic coworker? Scroll through Twitter when you're pissed off? Your North Star answers those questions. It's your filter, your guide, your reason to keep going when life gets messy. Let's talk about your environment. Not just your physical space, but the invisible forces shaping your emotions every day. Your routines, your social circle, your digital habits. Most people think they can willpower their way through anger or anxiety. Good luck with that. It's like trying to stay dry in a hurricane with a paper towel. Strategic thinkers don't fight their environment, they design it. Think about this. If you keep a bag of chips on your desk, you're gonna eat them. If you keep your phone by your bed, you're going to doom scroll at 2 a.m. That's not a willpower problem, it's an environment problem. The same goes for your emotions. If you're surrounded by negative people, your stress will skyrocket. If your mornings are chaotic, your whole day feels like a battle. But flip that script and magic happens. Take my friend Lisa. She used to start her day in a frenzy, snoozing her alarm, rushing through breakfast, checking emails while brushing her teeth. No wonder she was frazzled by 9 a.m. So she redesigned her environment. She moved her phone charger to the living room to avoid late-night scrolling. She set out her workout clothes the night before to make morning exercise a no-brainer. She even created a 5-minute calm corner routine: coffee, quiet music, and a quick gratitude list. Suddenly, her mornings went from chaos to control. Her environment was pulling her toward calm instead of pushing her towards stress. Here's how you do it. First, audit your emotional triggers. What sets you off? Is it a messy desk, a toxic friend, a notifications bar that never stops blinking? Next, make good choices easy and bad choices hard. Want to stay calm? Keep a stress ball on your desk and delete social media apps from your phone. Want to avoid arguments? Schedule tough conversations for when you're rested, not hangry. Want to feel more grounded? Build a morning routine that's sacred. 10 minutes of stretching, journaling, or just breathing. The best part? Once your environment is designed strategically, good emotional habits become your default. You're not fighting to stay calm, you're letting your surroundings carry you there. Small changes compound into massive results. As James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, puts it, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Design your emotional environment and resilience becomes your natural state. Let's talk resources, not just money or time, but the emotional capital you bring to every moment. Most people think emotions are something you spend. You get angry and burn energy. You get anxious and lose focus. But strategic thinkers know emotions are like seeds. Plant them wisely and they grow into something bigger. Here's a story to illustrate. Meet Tom, a guy who used to let every bad day drain him. A rude client, he'd stew for hours. A missed deadline, he'd spiral into self-doubt. But then he started treating his emotions like investments. Instead of letting anger eat him alive, he channeled it into a workout or a focused work session. Instead of letting anxiety paralyze him, he used it as a signal to prepare better next time. Tom didn't just spend his emotions, he multiplied them. Here's the key. Every emotion has potential. Anger can fuel determination. Anxiety can sharpen your focus. Even sadness can deepen your empathy. The trick is learning to redirect them. As Aristotle said, anybody can become angry, that is easy, but to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy. Strategic emotional optimization is about turning raw feelings into refined fuel. How do you do it? Start by identifying your emotional multipliers. What activities turn negative emotions into positive outcomes? For some, it's journaling to process anger. For others, it's a walk to clear anxiety. Next, leverage your resources. You don't need to do it alone. Talk to a friend, hire a coach, or read a book that shifts your perspective. Finally, create systems. Set up a rage ritual for when you're mad. 10 push-ups, a quick vent session, then a plan to move forward. Set up an anxiety antidote, a playlist, a breathing exercise, or a 5-minute meditation. When you optimize your emotional resources, you're not just surviving tough moments, you're using them to grow stronger. You're building a cycle where every challenge makes you better equipped for the next one. That's how you turn emotional chaos into emotional abundance.
Let's talk about risk. Most people see emotions like anger or fear as something to avoid at all costs. But strategic thinkers, they see emotions as opportunities to grow stronger. Think about a bamboo forest. A gentle breeze barely moves the stalks, but a storm forces them to bend, adapt, and grow deeper roots. Your emotional life works the same way. Here's a story. My friend Rachel used to dread conflict. Every argument with her partner felt like a personal failure. She'd avoid tough conversations, which only made things worse. But then she learned about asymmetric emotional risk, the idea that some risks have a small downside but a massive upside. For Rachel, the downside of a tough conversation was temporary discomfort. The upside? A stronger relationship and a clearer mind. So she started taking smart risks, speaking up calmly, setting boundaries, and addressing issues head-on. The result? Her relationships got stronger and her confidence skyrocketed. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." Strategic thinkers live by this. They don't avoid emotional risks, they manage them. They ask, what's the worst that could happen? What's the best? If the upside outweighs the downside, they lean in. If you're afraid to ask for a raise, the worst case is a no. The best case, a higher salary and more respect. If you're nervous about apologizing, the worst case is a bruised ego. The best case is a healed relationship. Here's how to make it work. First, identify your emotional risks. What scares you? Public speaking? Confronting a friend? Next, assess the asymmetry. What's the potential reward versus the cost? Then, create a plan B that's also a plan A. If you bomb that speech, you'll learn what to improve. If the confrontation goes south, you'll gain clarity about the relationship. Every risk becomes a win, even if it doesn't go perfectly. When you manage emotional risks strategically, fear stops being a stop sign and becomes a green light. You're not reckless, you're resilient. You're not avoiding storms, you're building a ship that can sail through them.
Learning to manage your emotions isn't about collecting random coping tricks. It's about building a system that makes you better at handling every emotion, every time. Most people treat emotions like weather, unpredictable and out of their control. Strategic thinkers? They treat emotions like a skill they can master. Let's go back to Sarah, our stressed-out marketing manager. She used to think she was just bad at handling pressure. But then she started treating emotional mastery like learning a sport. She practiced, she studied, she got better. She learned that deep breathing could calm her nerves before a big meeting. She discovered that journaling helped her process frustration instead of snapping at her team. Each skill didn't just solve one problem, it made her better at handling all problems. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's the mindset of a strategic learner. Your emotions aren't fixed, they're trainable. And when you train them strategically, you create what I call emotional transfer. Learning to stay calm in a work crisis makes you calmer in family arguments. Mastering patience in traffic makes you more patient with your kids. Every skill connects to every other skill, creating a network of emotional strength. Here's how to build your system. First, focus on meta-emotions, skills that improve your ability to handle all emotions. Things like mindfulness, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. Next, practice deliberately. Set aside 5 minutes a day
to breathe deeply or reflect on a tough moment. Finally, seek feedback. Ask a trusted friend how you come across under stress. Read books like Daniel Goleman's Emotional Intelligence. The more you learn, the faster you grow. The best part, emotional learning is exponential. Each skill makes the next one easier. Each insight makes the next one clearer. You're not just getting better at handling emotions, you're becoming someone who thrives in any emotional storm.
Your emotions don't exist in a vacuum. They're shaped by the people around you, your friends, family, co-workers, even that barista who remembers your order. Most people think relationships are just about connection, but strategic thinkers know they're emotional multipliers. The right people can lift you up, calm you down, and amplify your resilience. The wrong ones? They can drag you into a spiral. Let's tell a story. Meet Jake, a guy who used to feel drained after every social interaction. His friends were fun, but they were also complainers, always venting about their jobs, their relationships, their lives. Jake didn't realize how much their negativity was rubbing off on him until he started hanging out with a new group, a mix of optimists, problem solvers, and big dreamers. Suddenly, his stress felt lighter, his goals felt closer, his emotions felt manageable. That's the power of an emotional network. As motivational speaker Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Strategic thinkers take this seriously. They don't just collect friends, they curate relationships that make them stronger. They seek out people who challenge their thinking, support their growth, and bring calm to their chaos. But here's the real magic. They give as much as they get. Jake started sharing his own positivity, connecting his new friends with each other, and creating a network that grew stronger by itself. Here's how to build your emotional network. First, audit your current relationships. Who lifts you up? Who drags you down? Next, seek out emotional multipliers, people who inspire you, calm you, or challenge you to grow. Finally, be a multiplier yourself. Share positivity, offer support, make introductions. When you build a network strategically, it becomes a living ecosystem of emotional strength, pulling you toward resilience even on your worst days.
Your career isn't just about paychecks or promotions, it's an emotional battlefield. Deadlines, difficult bosses, office politics, they can turn even the best job into an emotional roller coaster. Most people react to these challenges tactically, grinding through the stress or venting to co-workers. Strategic thinkers? They build careers that make emotional resilience a competitive advantage. Let's talk about Emma, a software developer who used to dread Monday mornings. Her job was demanding, and her team's constant crunch time left her frazzled. But instead of quitting or powering through, she got strategic. She realized her stress wasn't just about the workload, it was about feeling undervalued and out of control. So she started building what I call an emotional career moat, a combination of skills, relationships, and reputation that made her not just valuable, but irreplaceable. Emma took on high-impact projects that showcased her problem-solving skills. She built relationships with mentors who helped her navigate office politics. She even started a mindfulness practice to stay calm during crunch time. The result? Her boss noticed her poise, her team leaned on her for leadership, and opportunities started coming to her. She wasn't just surviving her job, she was thriving in it. As LinkedIn founder Reid Hoffman says, the fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already the way you want to be. Strategic career planning is about positioning yourself where emotional resilience becomes your edge. Every skill you learn, every relationship you build, every project you nail, they're not just career wins, they're emotional assets that compound over time. Here's how to do it. First, identify your emotional career drains. What parts of your job stress you out? Next, build skills that give you control. whether it's technical expertise or emotional intelligence. Finally, create a reputation for staying calm under pressure. When you build an emotional career mode, you don't just climb the ladder, you build a platform where success comes to you.
Money and emotions are more connected than you think. Financial stress can turn a bad day into a bad month. But strategic thinkers don't just manage money, they use it to build emotional freedom. Think of money like a tool, not a goal. Used wisely, it can reduce stress, create options, and give you the space to thrive. Let's tell a story. Meet Alex, a freelancer who used to live paycheck to paycheck. Every late client payment sent him into a panic spiral. But then he got strategic. He started treating his finances like an emotional safety net. He built an emergency fund to cushion late payments. He invested in skills that made him more marketable. He even started a side hustle that gave him extra income and confidence. Suddenly, financial stress wasn't running his life, his emotions were. As financial expert Ramit Sethi says, money is a small but important part of living a rich life. Strategic financial planning isn't about getting rich quick, it's about building systems that reduce stress and amplify resilience. Every dollar you save, invest, or spend should either protect you from emotional downside or create emotional upside. Here's how to make it work. First, identify your financial stress triggers: late bills, unexpected expenses, or maybe just the fear of not having enough. Next, build systems to address them: an emergency fund, automated savings, or a side hustle. Finally, invest in emotional multipliers: education, experiences, or tools that make you feel more in control. When you integrate financial strategy with emotional strategy, money becomes a tool for building the life you want, not a source of stress. Your health isn't just about looking good or living longer, it's about fueling your emotional resilience. Think about it. When you're exhausted, every small problem feels like a crisis. But when you're energized, you can handle anything. Strategic thinkers don't sacrifice health for success. They make it the foundation of success. Let's go back to Mike, our former hothead. His temper wasn't just about his mindset, it was about his energy. He was sleep-deprived, caffeine-jacked, and running on fumes. So he got strategic. He started prioritizing sleep, eating better, and exercising regularly. The result? He didn't just feel better, he thought better. His anger became manageable, his focus sharpened, and his resilience soared. As health expert Dr. Andrew Weil says, health is wholeness, wholeness in its most profound sense.
Your health is your emotional operating system. Every choice, sleep, diet, exercise, even breathing, either drains your emotional energy or multiplies it. Here's how to do it. First, audit your energy drains. Are you skipping meals? Staying up too late? Next, invest in energy multipliers. 8 hours of sleep, a morning walk, or a 5-minute breathing exercise. Finally, create systems to make health easy. Prep meals in advance, set a bedtime alarm, or find a workout buddy. When you optimize your health strategically, you're not just improving your body, you're upgrading your emotional resilience. Time is your most precious resource, but it's not just about hours, it's about attention. Most people try to cram more into their day, but strategic thinkers focus on doing less, better. When it comes to emotions, focus is your superpower. 1 hour of deep, intentional focus can do more for your emotional resilience than a week of scattered effort. Let's tell a story. Meet Priya, a teacher who used to feel overwhelmed by her workload and her emotions. She was always multitasking, grading papers, answering emails, worrying about her students. But then she discovered deep focus. She started blocking off 1 hour each morning for uninterrupted work. No phone, no email, just her and her priorities. That hour didn't just get work done, it gave her emotional clarity. She felt calmer, more in control, and better equipped to handle the day's challenges. As productivity expert Newport says, focus is the art of knowing what matters most and giving it everything you've got. Strategic time management is about creating space for emotional clarity. Identify your prime time, those hours when you're sharpest, and protect them fiercely. Design your environment to eliminate distractions. Create triggers that pull you into focus. A specific playlist, a clean desk, a deep breath. When you master strategic focus, you don't just manage time better, you transcend it. Your emotions stop running the show, and you start directing the play.
Emotions aren't just something to manage, they're a source of creativity. Most people think creativity is about art or ideas, but strategic thinkers know it's about solving emotional problems in new ways. Your anger, your fear, your joy, they're raw materials for innovation. Let's go back to Rachel, our conflict avoider. She used to see her fear of confrontation as a weakness, but then she got creative. She started treating every tough conversation like a puzzle. Instead of avoiding conflict, she experimented with new approaches, using humor to diffuse tension, asking questions to understand the other person, or writing out her thoughts to stay calm. Each experiment taught her something new, and soon she was innovating her way to stronger relationships. As Steve Jobs said, creativity is just connecting things. Strategic emotional creativity is about connecting your feelings to solutions. Anger can spark a new boundary. Fear can inspire a new preparation. Joy can fuel a new project. The key is creating systems for emotional innovation, journaling to capture insights, brainstorming to find new approaches, or seeking inspiration from other fields. When you treat emotions as a creative resource, you stop being a victim of your feelings and start being an artist with them. You're not waiting for calm, you're creating it. You're not hoping for resilience, you're engineering it. Every decision you make shapes your emotional future. Most people make emotional decisions impulsively, snapping in anger, avoiding in fear, or chasing instant gratification. Strategic thinkers, they make decisions that stack the deck in their favor. Let's tell a story. Meet David, a guy who used to let his emotions call the shots. A bad day at work? He'd vent on social media. A fight with his partner? He'd shut down for days. But then he started practicing decision stacking. Every choice became a chance to set himself up for better emotional outcomes. Instead of venting online, he'd write in a journal to process his anger. Instead of shutting down, he'd schedule a calm conversation with his partner. Each decision built on the last, creating a system of emotional resilience. As decision-making expert Annie Duke says, decisions aren't about outcomes, they're about process. Strategic decision-making is about building a process that makes emotional resilience your default. Start by identifying your emotional decision traps, reacting in anger, avoiding conflict, or seeking instant relief. Next, create a decision filter. Does this choice align with my North Star? And does it set me up for future wins? Finally, learn from every decision. Each choice is an experiment that makes you a better decision maker. When you master strategic decision making, you're not just choosing better paths, you're becoming someone who naturally makes resilient choices. Emotions stop being your boss and start being your ally. Here's the deal. Life will always throw storms at you. Anger, anxiety, frustration, they're part of the human experience. But with strategic thinking, you're not just surviving those storms, you're using them to build a life of resilience, purpose, and joy. This isn't about ignoring your emotions or pretending you're unbreakable. It's about becoming the architect of your emotional life, designing systems that make you stronger, calmer, and more in control. Let's recap the journey.
You've learned to audit your emotional patterns, create a North Star to guide your decisions, design an environment that supports your resilience, optimize your emotional resources, manage risks, build learning systems, curate a powerful network, plan your career strategically, use money as a tool for freedom, prioritize health as your foundation, master time and focus, innovate with your emotions, and make decisions that stack the deck in your favor. Each piece connects to the others, creating an ecosystem of emotional strength. Here's a final story to bring it home. My friend Anna used to feel like life was a constant battle. Stress was her default, and every setback felt personal. But she started applying these principles. She audited her triggers, set a vision for calm confidence, redesigned her mornings, and built a network of supportive friends. Today, she's not just surviving, she's thriving. She handles challenges with grace, turns setbacks into opportunities, and lives with a sense of purpose that makes every day feel meaningful. As Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Strategic thinking isn't just a skill, it's a way of life. Every time you pause to reflect, every time you make a choice that aligns with your vision, every time you turn an emotion into an opportunity, you're building your masterpiece. You're not just reacting to life, you're creating it. So here's your challenge. Start today. Pick one principle, an emotional self-audit, a morning routine, a new relationship, and put it into action. Watch how it ripples through your life. You're not just a player in this game, you're the designer. With strategic thinking, you can master your emotions and build a life that doesn't just weather the storm, but dances in the rain. Go make it happen.